if I were making a TV show set in contemporary New York,
Yes.
I might be trying to tell the truth about what it's like to live in New York, but I'd have entirely fictional characters. Why is it with something like Vikings or Tudors, both good examples of shows where the attempt has been made, the stretch has been made to tell us something about real people?
Yes.
Why so?
It's very important to me that it's based upon the experiences of real people, because I like to try and connect the past to the present, and the best way, it seems to me, is through recorded events. With the Tudors, I used as much actual recorded narrative and dialogue and speech as I could. Of course, it's not the same with the Vikings, although, for example, we know Ragnar's death speech that was recorded. As far as we know, it's an amazing speech. And I read the sagas. I wanted to pick up on the rhythms of their speech, the way they thought. And I wanted to find a hero who'd been a real person, who did real things, who was really heroic. And I settled upon Ragnar Lothbrok. He was a famous Viking even in his own time, and some of his sons became equally famous. We know quite a bit about him. We know about his 2 wives. We know that he was amongst the first to raid to the west, and in fact he raided and attacked Paris, which was a quite extraordinary event at the time. And it makes me feel good that I'm writing about real people, that I'm as it were, bringing them back to life and connecting them to the contemporary world. I personally am not interested in fantasy and making things up, because for me, in the end, fantasy is pretty meaningless. But things that are set in real life, about real people, help us to understand, hopefully, something about ourselves.
But nonetheless, you succeed in putting a narrative shape on these things. That
Yes.
feels like a journey, feels like a story.
Yes.
And that, of course, requires a bit of artifice.
Yes. Well, I'm a dramatist, not a historian, and it's not a documentary. And so I have to tell a story that's going to entertain people, and the History Channel wouldn't pay me if I didn't do that. So I'm conscious of the need to shape the narrative. So you have the raw material, which is what you've managed to dig out about these real people, but beyond that, you have to exercise your wit and imagination to tell a story without, I think, ever stretching credibility or ever taking them places which don't feel right or feel false to some extent.
And then, what are the benefits and indeed the hindrances of working in a serialised TV format for something like this?
They're mainly benefits, because it means that you have time to explore characters. You can find contradictions in characters. You can find depths in characters. There are some characters in the show who I didn't think about too much initially, who are in there to perform a function, but who are now, I've found out things about them, both from research but also from watching the performance. A performer, an actor, can absolutely make a character, can bring a character to life, and as a dramatist, I can play upon that strength. Really, movies reveal characters, but TV drama series develop them, and it's a very satisfying way to write for a writer. I didn't know I would find it so exciting and satisfying, because before Tudors I'd never written anything for TV, but it's a world now that I'm very comfortable in and like. And this, of course, is the golden age of TV drama. It's not just me. There are a lot of movie writers, directors, actors who want to be in TV, And so I'm very happy to be working in this context.
There seems to me to be a potential problem with the match of a big saga like this and a star like Travis, because at some point, either he's not going to be available, or sadly, the part's not going to be there for him anymore because Ragnar's going to be in the ground.
Yeah.
Do you feel the pressure to keep him around as long as possible?
I would love to keep him around as long as I could, because he brings so much to the show. But I also know that in the way that I think we did through Tudors, we're developing a star. There's no question that Travis is going to go on and be a big movie star. He's already being offered major parts. It's very satisfying to be helping someone in their career to do that, and I hope that his experiences here have been good ones for him and will help him. Certainly, you know, he's a very intelligent guy. He likes to understand the process. He and I talk a lot about the character. I think he can bring all those things to other roles, but for the moment, he's with us, and he's very important, obviously, to the show.
There's a great gag in Michael Crichton's second Jurassic Park book which sort of mocks the bad research in the first book, and it changes the rules of how T-Rexes work. What happens to you? What happens to Vikings if we suddenly find a new archaeological find, or the rules book just gets rewritten?
I had an interesting conversation on a Boston radio show. I was in Oxford, and the guy I was talking to, who's the head of Scandinavian Studies at Harvard, who's a Swede, and we'd shown him the first 2 episodes of the first season, and I thought he was going to eat me alive. And what he actually said was, "This is the first time my culture has ever been taken seriously or intelligently. Thank you very much."
And just the last question then, Michael, I'm interested in how interested you are in genre, really, and exploiting those devices in telling these stories.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, there are conventions to the way we tell sagas, the way that we tell stories about, people who are warriors, the way we tell, and some of them are put to good use in Vikings, and it's interesting to me which came first, the desire to exploit those tropes, or the need to find them.
In some ways, my storytelling is intuitive. I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't watch a lot of movies, actually, even though I've had a career in TV and movies, because to some extent I don't want to be too affected by what I see. So it may be that there are only a certain number of archetypes, after all. You're bound to be working within certain given archetypal forms. I do try to subvert some of the formal expectations that people have. I think the end of the first season, the last episode, is apparently very unusual in TV terms because it doesn't resolve all the issues that it's created. But beyond that, of course, writing is about creating forms, creating structures, but also about playing with expectations, I think, and I have fun doing that.